Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Women's Wellness with Dr. Dow. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. This is one of our favorite Q&A chats to do of the month, and it is very gracious of you all to join us because we know that here in Los Angeles and in many other parts of the country, it's actually a true winter day and night. So everybody's experiencing some crazy weather, and it's smack at the beginning of the holiday season. So thank you for your presence, and for those of you that will be joining in replay, we hope that you are able to get lots of information out of this too. A couple of things that we want you to be aware of for tonight are, first of all, I'm Tiffany Kraft and I'm your host, and as I mentioned, we're here with Dr. Dow. You do have Leah Jonas online with you for Facebook. She is our operations director and she'll be moderating. For those of you that have questions for Dr. Dow tonight, we'd like to ask that you please hold your questions until the end of the conversation, and we will get back to you as soon as possible on these. Those of you that are on Facebook Live, you can write your questions into the chat dialogue, and Leah will pass this over to Dr. Dow and I. And then those of you that are on Zoom, you do have a chat capability as well as a Q&A capability. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see it in the navigation, so you can write your questions into that. And likewise, we'll get to you as soon as we can. If we have phone-in callers, unfortunately, we're not able to answer your questions. But if you do have questions for us, you can email quickly over at marketing@infinici.com. And if we're not able to get to you tonight, which we will try our best to if we see something come through, then we certainly will on another day. So with that, just to give you some background on tonight's episode is why women just need to relax during the holidays. And you know, the holidays offer up a lot of love. Like when I think of the holidays, I think of Leah baking because she makes these amazing cookies for us every year. I think of me doing DIY projects. I think of all of my work colleagues and just the specialness that comes across from different individuals. We just had a beautiful company Christmas or holiday party, excuse me, on Sunday, and that was such a treat for all of us. And you know, it's just truly a time where it's that extra special time when we come together throughout the year and join in this atmosphere of appreciation and love and festivities. But it takes a lot to really carry that across. Lots going on behind the scenes, and I think particularly for women, we carry a lot of that responsibility on our shoulders for our families, for our loved ones. We bring through different experiences that we probably had growing up and our perception of what the holidays should be like. And a lot of things that we're trying to live up to in the process of that. And then add to that many individuals have goals that they've set for the year, that they set back at the beginning of the year, and now we're at the end of the year. And there's that internal measurement of, did I achieve my goals or didn't I achieve my goals? And am I judging myself because of this? And are others judging me truly about this too? And so we start having these stress triggers that come out in us, and it takes away from the overall feeling of what is the holiday spirit, what it's really about to be in terms of love and bonding together. So we wanted to share this topic with you tonight so that we can really talk about like how women can relax during the holidays, what's truly relevant versus what isn't necessarily, and just how to sift through the muck and, you know, appreciate what is meant to rise to the top. So we're very lucky to have Dr. Dow with us. And with that, we're going to jump in. Again, Dr. Dow, thank you so much for joining tonight. And if you don't mind, one of the things I'd like to just talk about to get this chat started is about stress and like how a woman's body intakes stress. So let's just talk about like why stress has become so alarming in terms of women's health over the holidays particularly.
Well, first of all, I would like to sample those cookies you were talking about. That's made by Leah. So I just want to get it out of the way first before we go to stress. It's very stressful to hear you got cookies coming to you and I don't get any. So I like to talk about the cookie first. But anyway, stress is really, in some ways, it's not a simple cut and dry issue, because if you look at it, we can always break down stress into two components. One is what's coming toward you, and one is how you receive it. And all of us have a different stress capacity. That means some of us can handle a lot more. Some people can handle less. And also different kind of stress. Some people can handle emotional stress pretty nicely, and some people cannot handle certain type of stress. So I think it runs the gamut in a sense of that everyone is different. So when we look at our patients, when we give guidances, we don't necessarily give a kind of cookie cutter guidance. We tend to look at an individual and see where they come from, what make them tick, what's going on in their life, what's their family situation is like. Are they having difficulty with their in-laws? Are they having difficulty with their own parents? All those things taken into consideration. And so it's, I think one of the most important things is just, it's during the holiday season is very easy to get overwhelmed, just because there's just so many different things to do. You got, Cyber Monday, before Cyber Monday, you got a whole month of November where you were just like searching online, buying the proper gift for certain people. All those things goes, crazy. It can go crazy. It can make you really nuts trying to go through it. So besides that, then you have all the holiday parties that you go to, especially in the United States. I'm sure in other countries that celebrate some of the Christian holidays, such as Christmas. And we also have Yom Kippur, as well as other holidays during this period of time. So there's a lot of decorations to do. There's a lot of parties to go to. So it robs our time, it takes our time away, but nevertheless, in some of these parties can be really fun, it can be really enjoyable. So I think the key here, and you're right, there's just too much sweets going around during this period of time. I mean, the opportunity to indulge is just high. And I think it's important to indulge a little bit. I think everything is all about moderation, okay? So if you indulge too much, you're going to get sick. You're not going to be happy. You're going to get sick. So I often tell my patients, start your holiday season slowly. Slowly. What I mean is that, if there are holiday sweets around, don't just go for the whole thing. Do it just slowly. Taper it, ration it, so that your body can handle it. So that's one. And second of all, have a little plan before you go into the holidays. Don't necessarily add on more stuff. You may want to cut up some of the stuff, may not be necessary. For example, there's going to be like 10, 20 parties you must have to go to. Do you really have to go to every single one of them? You really don't. Okay. So you can cut off some of the parties and take a look at your energy level. If your energy cannot handle it, don't go. Okay. And also this holiday season time in the northern hemisphere, it's also cold and wintry. So it's also a time where it's very easy to get sick. And especially when you're around people, party time, where there's going to be sick people around, it's going to be very easy to get what other people are having. So I am busy around this time. There's a lot of colds and flus that I work with. There's a lot of sinus congestion. There's a lot of just infections that we deal with. And basically, mainly is from this kind of situation. So I recommend that before you go into the holiday, which we are in the midst of going into this holiday. In fact, today, I think is the third or the fourth day of Hanukkah today. So it's kind of important to really start pile up with maybe some vitamin C, maybe some, we have a formula such as ZGS. We have other formulas in Infinity 9-Up that can be really helpful, such as immunity, to help to boost your immune system. Throughout December, when I'm traveling, is very common for me to get sick from my families. My family tends to have some sickness, and I don't know why, but children's viruses are really strong. And when you're around kids, oh my God, all they have to do is sniff or cough a little bit in front of your face, and you get what they have. So it's really tough. So a lot of times I try to start with some of my herbs beforehand so I can really stay strong. Then vitamin C, vitamin D is very helpful for colds and flu, so it's always a good starting point. And so I think the way to release stress is have a little planning. Not a lot of planning, but just a little planning ahead to really understand your capacity, to understand what you can really handle, and don't overwhelm yourself. Only do things that you can handle. And I think that's the key. And if you're a little sick, try to take care right away. Don't let it fester. And also that if you're going away on an airplane travel to some place like visiting your family, just make sure you take some of the important herbs or medications with you so that you know what to do when you start having sore throat or cough or sinus congestion or body ache or fever. Just make sure you have some medication or herbs around that you can use. So that's going to help you. By not being sick, I think helps already to reduce stress. So that's just some of my pointers for now.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of other questions in relation just about the body and taking stress, and then I want to go into specific triggers and do a deeper dive. One of my first questions is you were talking about how the body gets impacted by stress. Can you give us an idea about some of the specific organs that intake stress within our body, and particularly as a woman, how is this important as it relates to our hormones?
Well, stress does affect your hormones. It can actually change your hormone menstrual cycles. It can alter ovulation time. It can cause irregular menstrual bleeding. So sometimes that can happen. If you already have inflammatory activities such as endometriosis, that can make that condition worse. So obviously it's something that you want to be very careful not to have a lot of sudden or uncertainties, because that actually puts your body and your soul into challenge. And that sometimes it's good for you, sometimes it's not so good for you. You got to be able to say, hey, can I handle this? Is this something that I want to do? The other thing is that before you see your family, you must kind of prepare your mind. We call it mindfulness. Really be mindful of what you say around your family. If you don't have the best relationship with a certain relative of your family, stay positive, keep positive. Don't let that relative get to you. Always stay above the fray. Always go high, not go low. Okay, so that way that don't go into a negative rant. Don't go into negative discussion. In the United States right now, we have a lot of very negative discussion relating to our president. So I think it's very important to understand that everyone is subject and really have the opportunity to have their opinions. So listen carefully and be nice and be receptive and try not to speak ill of anybody. Keep the holiday spirit well by being positive, and that is not only good for them, it's also good for you. And I just want to stress that. I think that's a very important concept. In fact, Chinese New Year comes in February. We have this thing in Chinese New Year: you must wear everything new and you may not speak anything bad. If you speak anything bad for that day, it will impact the rest of the year. And that includes swearing. You cannot swear on that day. So in some ways, when you go back to your family, keep it clean if you can. In fact, I often say PG.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Okay, well, let's dive in some more of these triggers then, and then I'm going to circle back to more about the body later towards the end of the discussion. I have about 10 different triggers that have come up from different people. We kind of did some research here and looked at, what our audience was most interested in. And the first one is unhappy memories. I think I alluded to this at the beginning of the conversation, that particularly during the holidays, and often for women, there are perceptions that we carry over from most often our childhood of what the holidays are supposed to be like, what our responsibilities are as women and the head of our households, or if we aren't in a partnership or don't have children, we'll carry those responsibilities with family and friends and extended relationships. So what is the best way that we can handle the stress of unhappy memories or challenging
Well, first of all, we need to understand that we cannot change what has happened,
Mm-hmm.
but we can change our perspective of what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
The memories are our own. We are the owners of these memories, nobody else. Characters and actors and actresses in our memories has a lot of time is not their responsibility, our responsibility now. It's our own memory.
Mm-hmm.
They take part of that memory. They take part of abuse, it might be, or negativity, it might be. But it's long past. And I think what I always say is that since you cannot change what already happened, you can change forward in what is going to happen. So in some ways, you have the power. You have the power to be your own. So in some way, do not let that memory, if it's a negative one, owns you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let that own you. Allow that memory be just a memory. And allow that memory to become a smaller of the past. Because ultimately, you are the one who have to live that memory. So less negativity is better for your health. So this is all about you at the end of the day. It's not about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So frequently when we go back to our family in the holidays, we tend to revert back to the role we play in that family dynamic. For example, we might just become that little girl again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we might just become that little boy again. Well, you don't have to. Okay, you can choose not to have that. Okay. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't see you. My video went away. So.
Oh, no, you are there. I can see you on Facebook still too.
Okay, so you don't have to do that. It's your choice. You can make that choice. You are the owner of your memory. You can dissect it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. You have power. Do not let someone else take over that power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if it's so negative and you don't really feel like being able to handle it, then don't go.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go to a family function that you can handle. Okay? Now, if you do go, just remember that you don't have to revert back to that role that you used to play. You can walk away anytime that you wish. Okay? You do have a choice. You don't have to live in your family. You can live in a hotel if you wanted to. So there's many ways you can dissect this so that the time that you spent with a family can be focused, can be limited if it needs to be. Okay, of course, ideally, we always try to have a good family gathering, to have a positive family gathering. That's always our goal. But sometimes that's not possible. And if that sometimes is not possible, then don't force something that's not possible. And so I think it's important to be realistic. It's important to be practical. And it is important also to remember holiday time is also time for forgiveness. Don't always hold on such burdens for the rest of your life. You have to let go one day. Don't wait until you die to let go.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Thank you, Dr. Tao. My second point was actually toxic relatives, and and you've approach this right now as well as previously. Perhaps there's another tool you could give when you are faced directly with a scenario of toxicity right in front of you. What is the best way to deflect that? So let's say you're with your sibling, you're pushing each other's buttons, and that it starts to escalate, and you've got it smack in front of you. You know, it's so easy to just want to walk away. But I think sometimes for individuals, we can't realize we walk away either. So how can we deflect in the moment when we're experiencing toxicity with relatives?
Go to the bathroom.
I love it.
I mean, you need a break. Just say, I got to take a personal break. I got to do a bathroom break. I got to go. So, go to the bathroom, recompose yourself, chill in the bathroom. Take as long as you want. But I think a lot of times you just need a break. You need to break it up. so that, negativity don't continue. Okay, and you don't need to allow that negative to continue. If it continues, then you may have to leave. And or you may say, I really like to spend good time with you, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think we should discuss things that are so negative right now.
Mm-hmm.
There is no purpose right now to
Mm-hmm.
do so. And love all of you. Want to be here. Want to spend time with all of you. Let's have a good time together if it's possible. Now, if that doesn't go well, you can always walk away. You can always leave. It's sad, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes the most difficult people to deal with is your own family. Sometimes, so frequently people have love and hate relationship with some of their family members. And we are no perfect human. None of us are perfect human. I think it's important to really appreciate people's strength and also trying to help them to eliminate a weakness and try to really embrace people with love. And that takes courage. That takes a lot of work in a sense of allowing yourself to move beyond hatred or beyond hurt. And not everybody can do that. But take a bathroom break might be the best remedy at that given time.
And who can tell you you can't leave to go to the bathroom right away?
Pretty much nobody, yes.
Exactly. I love it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. A complete about face, I should say. Loss of sleep. That's a big one. A lot of women experience loss of sleep, especially during the holidays, especially if they are working full time, they come back to their families, they're trying to do the family routine, then when everybody goes to sleep, they're trying to wrap presents, and by the end of the day, multiple nights in a row, it's 3 and 4 hour nights of sleep.
One advice,
Mm-hmm.
don't schedule anything in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, schedule your stuff in the afternoon if you can. Because you need to anticipate you're going to stay up late. You might have to wrap presents. You might have to play mahjong games.
Mm-hmm.
You have to finish a puzzle where my wife gets started and she want to make sure that I participate. We don't go to sleep until the last piece goes in there. So, these kind of things going to happen during the holidays. And so I think it's very important to participate as much as you can. If you're falling asleep, of course, allow you to, go to your bedroom and go to sleep. But, participate, but also realize you might gonna have late nights. So trying not to schedule too much stuff in the early morning. So it allows yourself to sleep in if it's necessary. So I think that's the number one thing is scheduling. Looking at how you schedule through the holidays. Make sure you get ample of gap time where you can chill, relax, between different function to different functions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next point, what's changed in life measurement? For instance, some individuals may be experiencing that the holidays are a time in which children are returning from college or perhaps from different cities that they now live in. It could be that there's been a divorce in the family or a death in the family. How does one navigate through these types of experiences where it's literally measurements that when we were younger seemed to look forward to with such anticipation, but perhaps it wasn't packaged the way it ultimately has ended up being?
You need to rephrase that question. I'm trying to understand what you were saying.
So how would an individual deal with changes in life measurement? For instance,
What do you mean by life measurement?
things that are measurements in their lifetime. So, we all look forward, not all of us, but many of us look forward to having a family, and you have children in your home. You personally have experienced this where your children have been with you all through growing up, and now that they're adults, some have moved away to other cities. You went through the experience of your children being away at university and then coming home for the holidays. It does cause, as you're undergoing the changes in their personality coming back home, we have to adjust ourselves to that too. Or the fact that there was a space missing by that person not being there. There's other individuals that it becomes a challenge for them during the holidays because perhaps they got divorced in that year or they lost a family member in that year. And now the holidays have arrived and it really hits the triggers for them.
I think the key is assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we need to stop assuming.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids come home, a lot of time that's don't assume. That's just don't assume you're gonna like this, you're gonna like that. Always create space for them, in the sense of, honey, we would like to do this. Are you up to it? Would you like to come with me? Don't always think they're gonna have to participate in everything. Make sure you give them a little room to breathe. Let them have some freedom, especially with kids coming home. I got 2 boys, so when they come home, it's a wonderful time. And obviously, both my wife and I, we basically surround our time with our kids. And basically, our time it's basically going by whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. So if they have time to be with us, we make sure we have time with them, because those are very precious. And then if there are times where they need to go out, and they go out, and we actually use that time to take care of our own business in some ways. So I think it depends on, I often say, once kids become an adult, the pecking order is you're no longer number one anymore. Your number one is your children. And you go with whatever your children wants to do. And it's simply, you follow them, you figure out whether or not you can participate. And a lot of times, there may not be something that I always like, but I do it anyway, because I know that's a way that my kid like, and I know that they would enjoy it, and I would be there for them. And I think that's important. So always realizes that your children and your parents might open your eyes to certain things. And I think one of the things that I need to always learn is, with our parents who are getting older, is always very important to be patient. And that is something that is very hard for me sometimes, because sometimes they don't hear very well as they get older. Sometimes they don't understand very well. So you need to be patient and take your time with them and just be kind. And that is never easy. So sometimes what I try to do, I find myself flustered, then I would basically find a way to walk away and recompose myself, and then have a little conversation with myself, and then come back to my parents. I think that's important, because sometimes you can say hurtful things, and sometimes hurtful things can last for a long, long time. So it's very important to be very careful what you say to your parents as well as to your children. So anyway, that's my 3 cents worth.
Okay, thank you. I think that was very good advice. Let's see, our next one. Goals. What stayed the same? So what stayed the same in terms of goals that were unmet? Maybe there's career stagnancy for somebody. An individual might not enjoy the monotony of the family get-togethers. Maybe a family does the exact same traditions every year, and an individual feels the odd one out in not appreciating those. And the same way, that perception again of how they intake things compared to the rest of the family, how do they navigate that?
Well, I mean, if you're not such person, you need to take a look at 2 ways. You need to participate. Look at, 1, how do I contribute to the problem? Mm-hmm. Have I contributed to the problem? Am I not? Am I negative? Do I come in with negative criticism all the time? So the very first thing is always 2-way. It's not just the family toward you. How about you? How about your own responsibility? How about your own perspective and your own contribution to the problem? Take a look at that. That's important, because it's important for your own spiritual development, for your own personal development, and that's actually quite important. And then you can take a look at in what situation blows you over, what situation triggers you, and learn to understand those triggers, and learn not to actually buy into those triggers, learn not to actually step on the mines. Stay away from those things that can step on. So it's important to dance around it, to create something new, create something different. Sometimes the venue makes a difference. Sometimes not going to a family home, but go someplace together like Vegas, that might be different. So a lot of times it all really depends on the situation. It's kind of hard to kind of talk in kind of supposed reality here, but everybody have their own issues and interesting and particular and unique conditions and family condition we'll deal with. And I think we need to understand the family dynamic is wonderful. It shows a lot of different humanity and human nature, whether good or bad, ugly or beautiful, it doesn't really matter. Family dynamic is such that it embraces all. I think one of the things that really overcomes a lot of difficulties and challenges is love. Mm-hmm. Learn to really give love. I think we get so much more benefit by giving love than just receiving love. Mm-hmm. Give more, you get a lot more in return. And sometimes we need to learn to give without asking something in return. We give willingly because that's who we are. And that is actually what you're going to get a lot more coming back to you by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And, you know, I'm just looking with the time. I think the next one that would be important is, can we jump back into, because this has come up, about eating habits and digestion. Dr. Mao actually addressed a lot of this on Monday as well, but I would love to hear your thoughts on just maybe 3 or 4 really good tips that you can offer as somebody's going through the holiday festivities and trying to balance what their normal eating habits are versus holiday eating habits and how to manage digestion issues.
I think there is going to be a lot of things you're going to be exposed to, such as sweets and alcohol. Let's start with the alcohol first. Mm-hmm. The alcohol is always a difficult one. It's very easy to get drunk. And when you get drunk, you're going to say things that you're going to regret. So a lot of times try not to get there. Okay, so when you go into any kind of party situation, first of all, give yourself a limitation. I'm going to have 1 glass of wine. I'm not going to go over it. Okay, that's the way you have to say it to yourself. That's number 1. Number 2 is that always have some food in your stomach before you drink any alcohol. We already know alcohol hits you really hard when you're hungry. It goes straight into your bloodstream, and you can get drunk so much easier and without food in your stomach. So I always highly recommend people to eat food first, drink later. Okay, so that is a trick that I often do when I go to any kind of party. Mm-hmm. The second thing is sweets. And when you eat sweets, make sure that you have it with something, so that it's not just sugar and sugar and sugar. Make sure there's some other food that goes with it, and make sure you eat some food before the sweets. And I think that's always can be helpful. There's a reason why dessert is always after a full meal. It's because you don't want the sugar to hit your bloodstream so strongly, because you're going to get tired, you're going to get hyper, you're going to get emotional. You know, a lot of times you're going to get physiological changes that's not so positive. So in those situations, for example, cookies, you know, you and Leah's going to make cookies. I'm going to have my cookies. I would like to have my cookie. So
you're not going to let us forget the cookies for you.
Yes, I'm going to let you get away with that. But for example, I'm not going to eat a cookie alone. I mean, that just doesn't work well. You're going to have some. For me, it's probably a warm glass of milk goes with cookie. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know, I'm the only person who does this in the world. I dip my cookies in the milk. Okay,
so I love it that way.
I think I'm the only one who does that. It's embarrassing. I hope nobody was watching me. But I do that. I like my cookie a little bit wet, and, you know, dip it in there, and I just love it. Now, how much cookie do I eat? Well, I can tell you that in a year, I think it's probably within this 5 fingers. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I don't eat that much cookies, but there's one thing that I love to do is that every time if I do something, what I like to do is, I think I say this in a previous podcast, is that I like to earn it, not pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big difference. So I want to earn it. So in some ways, a lot of time when I go skiing, I have a real hard day of skiing. I ski hard and I'm sore. I'm really just happy. It's tired already. In the afternoon, coming to a ski lodge or coming to a place where that somebody is making some hot cookie, I am buying it. Okay, I'm getting that cookie and I am rewarding myself with a cookie, with a hot milk. I'm gonna sit there, I'm gonna just like savor life. Okay, because I earned it. I allow myself to reward. And and I'm not gonna go for any cookie. It's gotta be a good cookie. I'm not gonna go with some packaged cookie. I am particular. I mean, if this is my quota for the year, I'm gonna make sure it's a good one, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I like the oatmeal cookie. I can go for chocolate chip cookie. I can go all kinds of cookie. I can try it. I got no problem with it. But
Mhm.
I like it when it's just freshly out of the oven. So let me know when your cookie is freshly out of the oven. I'll be coming over. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
Leah's actually in charge of that one, but I know she's listening and she's probably laughing right now.
so you don't really want to pay for it. Then you feel guilty. You don't feel good when you have to pay for it. So, for example, you haven't done any exercise, any workout, and then you go and eat cookie. You're like, oh God, I feel terrible. But I'm going to eat more anyway, and you feel more terrible later. It's kind of like a no-win situation, right? So a lot of time, what I do is I say, let me reward myself later. I don't
Mhm.
have to do it now. Okay. So that's what I do. I play a little mental game with my head.
Mhm. That's a good game to do. I love this game. Okay. Let's see. Next one. The next one. Comparing yourself to others. That's probably the number one question besides
Hmm.
living in me
Hmm.
time. Those are your next two questions. You can answer them whichever way you want, but these are the two biggest that came up. Comparing yourself to others and how do I still fit in me time?
So the very first question is that we always compare,
Hmm. So much.
and you should.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong of comparing.
Hmm.
I mean, when you shop, do you compare?
Yes.
Okay, so if you compare when you're shopping, I think you compare everything in your life,
Hmm.
right? It's about comparison, it's about what fits you.
Hmm.
Okay, that's the most important. The problem with the comparison shopping, you get to a point where your comparison is no longer about you. It's about how other people sees you.
Yes.
So when you start to compare for that reason, you know, ultimately you're not going to be too happy. You need to go back to the basics. Why you're comparing? The reason you're comparing is about you. It's about what fits you. It's about what works for you. Okay. So you might be shopping a different brand of shoes. There's certain brand that just fits you better.
Hmm.
There's certain brand of dress that just, look better on you and you like how you look.
Hmm.
So that's actually important for you. Okay. So it's nothing wrong with comparison. It's where your intent is. What are you comparing for?
Hmm.
Are you comparison because you're comparing so that you can look good for someone?
Hmm.
So you're going to be, I mean, is that okay? Sometimes that's okay, but sometimes that may not be okay for you. So you got to take a look at your purpose. At the end of the day, look at your purpose. Why are you comparing? Okay. You're comparing because you want to improve yourself. That's one thing. You're comparing because you are so competitive. You're always going to be number one. Well, I'm sorry. There's a Chinese saying, there's always going to be a mountain that's higher than the one you just conquered.
Oh, I love
So
that.
stop it
Yeah.
because you need to enjoy the mountain you just conquered and enjoy it. That's it. Okay.
That's one of the most beautiful pieces of wisdom I've heard. Thank you so much for that. I hope everybody else just truly appreciated that because I believe we put so much weight and guilt on us about comparison in the first place. But when you reframe it the way that you just did now in explaining that it's really about the purpose, the intention behind it, and not to beat yourself up for the comparison, but to understand that purpose and intention, and rather instead, it clicks, like it really resonates and it makes sense. So I hope for everybody else in the audience that they got that as well. Thank you. Okay, and then our final point before we open for questions is still fitting in me time. You've given some ideas along the way to everybody, but is there a way that you would like to wrap it up like a pretty package?
You know, when you are going on a trip, for example, and I have a lot of this kind of experience because a lot of time in the holiday time, I might be going someplace, say Europe, with my relatives, and we would spend some time together. So a lot of times, I often make sure that there's time for myself.
Mhm.
Okay, so that I can go and take a nice quiet walk, take a look at the scenery that I want to see because not everybody want to see the same things. So a lot of times we make sure we schedule something, and I make sure I schedule something for myself. And I often always negotiate and talk to my wife, my partner about it, so that everybody is happy with what they're doing. And sometimes it's not possible. It's going to be busy with the relatives. So sometimes, a lot of time I have frequently what I call it a little vacation, fun vacation. Okay, so a lot of time I try not to, when I go on vacation, I try to, if I go to work on Monday, I try to come back on Saturday if it's possible. And sometimes the reason being is that I just want to one day be myself and one day to recoup, one day to not just, take care of the laundry, but just trying to recoup, go take a walk and do some errands and get myself all relaxed before my work week. But not only that, just give myself some time. And that might be a day I get a foot massage, and maybe I get a massage or get a hot bath or whatever I need to do to make myself happy. So that's my me time. Okay, and some people does me time differently. Some people are knitting time. Some people is Kindle time. Some people is hot bath. Some people is Korean hot spa time. Some people is
I do it all the time. I love that's my favorite indulgence.
there you go. There you go. And then some people foot massage. Some people, for me, like hiking. For me, it's my passion. So me time is my hiking. So everyone have their me time, and a lot of time those are the time. And what's a me time? It's the time that actually recharges your battery.
Yes.
You're actually doing things that you feel better afterwards. You feel stronger. You feel recharged. You feel renewed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love that too. I think I've loved every single point that you gave tonight. It was so good. So thank you, thank you. Well, we are coming up on 6 o'clock. We've got a little bit of time left. So why don't we open up now to questions from everyone? Just as a reminder, for those of you on Zoom, you have the opportunity to write in the chat box any questions that you have. You've got a chat box, you've got a Q&A box, so feel free to write questions that you have in there and we'll respond as quickly as possible. And then for those of you that are on Facebook, you have the benefit of having Leah on there with you to moderate. So please do type in your questions and she will pass those over to us as well. And, welcome. I see that a little bit of the audience that have written in chats, and it's so nice to see the many areas that you are tuning in from tonight. So welcome, welcome. Thank you. So we'll take a moment here and wait on that. While we're waiting, I actually have some questions that were submitted to us, so I'll start with those. One of the questions, Dr. Dow, is children. How does one best manage the expectations of being present as a parent to children during the holidays, particularly as many are home on school break while also still having responsibilities in the workplace? And then you have this added layer of ensuring that the holidays stay festive and run smoothly. So this is more directed to when you have younger children at home, younger to teenage at home.
Yeah, it's actually children need some scheduling also too. They need some structure. A lot of times when you come into the holidays, if there's no structure, they can be a mess. They can get sick very easily. They can go wild. They just basically stay up and they can play video game the whole day. It's just not conducive for their spirit and for their physical body. So what I frequently do with my kids is, talk to them ahead of time. We got Christmas holiday coming up. What would you like to do? And do you have any outstanding assignment that you have to do? Do you have some reading lists? Frequently, they have a reading list.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about, how many pages you should read per day. And, we often, when I growing up, we often had some assignments for homework. And my father and my mother is very generous. So basically, if we finish whatever we are supposed to be assigned for that day, we get the rest of the day off to do whatever we want to do. Mm-hmm. So I can tell you the incentive is really high for us. I mean, I get up early and just get it all done, read my books and do my homework, and by lunchtime, I'm ready to go out to play baseball. Mm-hmm. And I always get that because I try to focus on it and get it done. There's no point arguing because my parents are pretty strict in the old days in the sense that, yeah, you don't finish it, you don't go to work, you don't go to play. So there is that very important thing that they just taught me is called about earning them. Don't pay for it, earn it. You have to earn your points. You have to earn what you can get as a reward. So my reward from my parents is free time. That's my reward. So if I finish my homework, I get free time. So that was very important to me. So even to this adult, for now, I can see myself, free time was so important to me. So with kids, making sure they read regularly, that's very important nowadays. And I'm not talking about social media reading. Come on, guys. Do something a little bit more, substantial. And I always suggest something that they cannot go to the internet for. Maybe Kindle, maybe something that's kind of limited. They cannot go and do a kind of any kind of surfing. Maybe a book, something like that. I think it's very important. I think sometimes also we need to limit social media time. We need to limit computer internet time because I can tell you, if you get on it, you can be on it forever. Okay, so it's very important to limit that and give some structure to our children. And when I do that with my kids, they actually do so much better. They're not frazzled, they're not emotional, they're calm, they're anchored, especially when they know what they have to do.
Mm-hmm. Very good, thank you. Also on the topic of children, the next question coming in is, what can be done for small children to boost immunity against germ carriers?
Well, first of all, personal hygiene is important. Teach them to wash their hand. Teach them not to share their snots with everybody else. Teach them to blow their nose. Just some simple stuff to start. I'm telling you, some of the simple stuff is really important. And also give them something that's going to be healthy and nutritious. Because if you always give them sweets, they can get sick in no time. It's like literally within a day or two, they'll get sick. Mm-hmm. So you gotta make sure, give them food that's got a lot of good vitamin and minerals. So things like your vegetables and fruits are critical. You gotta make sure that's always in their repertoires. Make sure you eat healthy 3 meals a day. Don't skip meals. And make sure don't just eat pizza and burger every day. Make sure you have a very balanced diet, and so that is going to help the child. Of course, every child has specific things. I treat a lot of kids, and in the winter, there's a certain child who's going to get cough. There's a certain child who's going to get ear infection. There's a certain child who is prone to fever. There's a certain child who is prone to sore throat. So every child have their uniqueness. And there's a lot of over-the-counter herbs and vitamins or minerals that you can give to your kids to help. So you can definitely do some reading on your own, or consult a professional, somebody like me or other doctors who can pediatricians, who can help you to do some prevention of illnesses during the holiday season. Kids are going to get sick in the holiday. They always do. And they always get sick in a cold climate. Okay, so I think the key here is not about getting sick, it's about, can we prevent it? Can we shorten the duration? Can we reduce the intensity? Can we take care of it immediately at the very beginning when we see the first sign? So these are kind of things that you want to start training yourself as a parent to really trying to nip it in the bud, so to speak, ahead.
Okay. Me too. Now, what about immunity for, let me just read this. Okay, so this is in relation to pregnancy, women who are pregnant. How do you protect your immunity if you're pregnant and or have special needs that you can't take over-the-counter medications or supplements, I imagine, but you're trying to avoid germ carriers?
Well, it is hard for pregnant women and young children because their immunity, as well as senior citizens, a lot of them immunity is a little bit more compromised, it's a little bit more difficult. So I often say that this is a time where you need to really appreciate your exposure to the public, making sure that you can, don't overexpose yourself to the public, especially in a large crowd, especially a lot of germ situations. And also just make sure that you take your vitamins and take your minerals, take your herbs to help you to prevent some of these sickness that's coming up. Now, there are also suggestions for pregnant women to have flu shot. And a lot of women don't react unfavorably with flu shot. And if you're somebody who has a history of really severe flu or flu problems, I think it's definitely a wise thing to do a flu shot. Now, having said that, we know that flu shot can reduce symptoms and all that, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of or prevent completely the flu, because the strain of the flu shot that comes from now is from the last year. It may not be the same as this year. So do realize that you can still get flu, but it might eliminate or reduce some of the occurrences or severity. So a lot of doctors will participate in really encouraging people to have flu shot. I do encourage my patients, especially if they are really having compromised immunity in the past or history of really bad flu especially.
Are we too late in the year to get a flu shot, or is it still a value for people to get a flu shot at this time of the year?
Absolutely, it's not too late. This is still a good time to do it. If you haven't done it, you haven't been sick. So if you've been sick with the flu already, you're somewhat immune against it. So you may not need to get it, but if you're somebody who gets sick a lot, you may want to think about it. And I would say that consult with your medical professional, because every individual have different circumstances. I have a patient who has kidney weakness, and so that person, we're probably going to have to do a flu shot, because the flu may just, destroy his kidney. So, for example, everybody is a little bit different. So you have to take into consideration of each individual patient.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. For those of you that are online, any more questions? We're coming towards the end here, so if you do have a question, please post it now. We have one more question here. What are the top tips we can cultivate to relieve some of the stress in advance and honor ourselves as we move through the holidays?
Number one, get good sleep.
Yes, that's for sure.
I think, if you don't have a good sleep, you can recover. Okay, so you gotta allow yourself to have good sleep. If you got sleep problems, you need to take care of it. So there's a lot of over-the-counter stuff that you can take. And with of course, we have some over-the-counter stuff like Infinity that people can take. We have a sleep formula, we have a calm formula. So you can always try some of the over-the-counter stuff. Out there, you can try melatonin. You can definitely try things like valerian root. So there's a few things that you can try. And if that doesn't work out, then you may want to seek a professional's help to help you to get some good sleep. I think that's very important. If you sleep well, you can handle a lot of stress. If you sleep well, you don't get sick as often. You can prevent sickness just by sleeping well.
Okay, thank you. I'm taking one last look here. I think that we are wrapped for questions. We are. All right. Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us tonight, Dr. Dow, before we conclude for tonight?
Well, I just want to wish everyone an incredibly a wonderful holiday season. Please enjoy your time, whether you're with your family or not. If you're not, I want to wish you a wonderful, wonderful, blissful and peaceful holiday season. And I hope you're well, and I hope you're healthy. And it's always a good time for us to go through our holidays and renew ourselves, get us ready for a new year. It's a wonderful time. Winter, especially in the North Hemisphere, winter time is a time to relax, is the time to enjoy each other's company. It's time to just refresh. So thank you and happy holidays to everyone.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Dow. And for all of you that are listening right now or will be planning to listen and replay, I do want to share with you before we conclude tonight that we do have one more, actually we have two events coming up before the end of the year. We have next week the telestudy, again with Dr. Dow, which is going to be very nice. I love the topic for this month, and I think that those who are interested to participate in this will enjoy it very much. And then on the 17th, we will be doing a talk with two of our practitioners, Soanne Park, as well as Frances Lamb. And their topic is going to be which healthy eating plans fit your goals. For those of you that might not be aware, we do in January a focus on weight wellness. We also do in January a detox retreat through our clinic, which is extraordinary, and it only takes place at that time of the year. And we'll be sharing details with all of you about how you can sign up for this in the near future. But keep prepping for that. So Anne and Frances wanted to take the time to explain to you some of the different eating plans that are available, because it's really a challenge to understand what is going to serve your body best and serve your lifestyle best. So they're going to go through and break down several of these plans. And that, as I said, will take place on December 17th. So if you have any questions, please know that you can always contact us at marketing@infinici.com. And I as well would like to wish you an absolutely wonderful holiday season. It is an extraordinary time of the year. It's a time to really take space for yourself, and that was why we wanted to chat with you tonight about this, and as well enjoy the festivities. So much love to you all. We've so enjoyed doing these chats with you in 2018, and we're looking forward to an entire new year of topics as we get into January. And certainly if there's different topics that you'd like to hear about, please share that with us and let us know what your interests are, because that really helps us with our planning for the future. So once again, thank you, Dr. Dow, with being with us tonight. And for all of you, thank you, and we wish you a beautiful, beautiful rest of the week. Bye.
Bye-bye.